With Organization Portal, you can create an online presence for your business and manage it on the go, be it political, non-governmental, civic organization, business owner, social institutions, and so on. There's room for everyone. You can do more with Organization Portal, from adding team members to creating campaigns, posts, debates, and much more. Get started by downloading Veegil app or visit veegil.com. Veegil, increasing your socio-political influence.
But I'm not sure. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to this program. I am Jimmy Samuel for Veegil Media Studio in Lagos, Nigeria. We are analyzing the election process in Nigeria as at yesterday, and we've had several reports and several situations that is worth discussing on this program today. And with me here is Mr. Abdulrazak Adams, and also our other special guests. And I would like them to kindly introduce themselves and let them join us officially. Mr. Abdul, are you there?
Yeah. Thank you very much. I'm here.
Welcome again.
So I'm glad to be here. I'm glad to rejoin the program here today, and look forward to a very good, fruitful discussion. Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Okay. Our other guests also, please. Okay. Okay. So I would like to begin officially. Yesterday in our series of program, we discussed some sensitive issues regarding election, and with respect to INEC, the INEC not meeting up to the expectation of Nigeria. But however, the conduct of the election generally, yesterday from our field report, it was quiet, peaceful from what we had in some states across Nigeria, and that was able to give us some steps that INEC probably they were able to meet up to our expectation in a little way. But actually, from the report that came up eventually again, with there are some states in Nigeria. It was there was a record of violence and inducement, and some people they could not really cast their vote because they were under threat, and also that due to the fact that some of the party agents were they were monetizing votes actually in some place. And also, we also have record of the BVAS machine also not functioning well in some states across Nigeria. And, and also, we record that some of the BVAS machines also, some of it were damaged, some of it was not functioning well, some of it was stolen, and some of it was altered. I think probably for ulterior motive, actually. So that was a series of some of the incidents that transpired yesterday. But however, I would like to streamline yesterday's discovery to the point that INEC, although despite the several promises we've heard they've given us, and due to the extension they had in postponing the yesterday's governorship election, still there were still some issues and some shortcomings on their part. And that's why we are here tonight to analyze some of the issues and the post-election issues, actually. So, please, I would like to start first by saying that yesterday is some activities across, let me say, some states in Nigeria in respect to INEC performance was, I would say, is a shame, and it does not really present Nigeria well in the sight of the international community. and who are especially observing us to see what we can come up with when it comes to this democracy. Mostly also in Lagos specifically. I don't know why Lagos, let me say, the political scenery in Lagos was actually a dent in Nigeria, because in fact, I don't know how to put it, but it's a shame that what we had in Lagos as a state, a center of excellence in Nigeria, does not really present Nigeria well in the conduct of yesterday's governorship election. We have so many cases that we would like to discuss, ranging from ethnic profiling, inducement, compromise, and even the security personnel are being biased to some part of a party. And no, this does not really hug well and speak well for Nigeria as a whole. So first, I would like to look into the issue of ethnic profiling. This has been a recurring issue, and now that again it happened yesterday. Let me say first in Lagos, and also some states in the northern, in Kaduna, for instance, also there was this issue of ethnic profiling, but Lagos State was mostly dominant in this ethnic profile incident, because it was as if there was a deliberate attempt just to oust the Igbo tribe, or let me say the Igbo people, from what making a vote or casting their vote, and emphasizing or enforcing their civic responsibility of making us like casting their vote actually. So, sir, I would like you to come in and just tell us what's your view or your take on what happened and transpired in Lagos yesterday when it comes to the concept of ethnic profiling.
Yeah, thanks for having me. As you mentioned, the identity politics that we witnessed in this election, I believe, had gone on overdrive as a result of the results we got from the presidential elections. If I would mention to our viewers here that the results we had from the presidential elections did depict that we have not just one opposition party, but we have two opposition parties. And I believe in the case of places like Lagos and elsewhere, we got results that were not expected. I think in the last series of election 2023 coverage events we had, some of the guests, some of the panelists there mentioned that, in Nigeria, we tend to vote along party lines. So if someone comes in and they're going to vote APC, they're just going to vote APC top to bottom, right? And so the fear of the politicians was that the same would repeat itself. We did argue that whether this was a good development or whether it was a bad development. I think it's good for our democracy, for people to vote outside the norm that has been expected. But also, you would see that has caused some form of cold feet among some political circles that have lost in the presidential elections, and fear of losing their base has led to all of this intimidation we're seeing, and I think it's quite unfortunate. I mentioned yesterday that curbing election malpractices it's one of the key functions of INEC, and also the security personnel that collaborates with INEC in the conduction of our elections. So it's very important to bring their fire to the feet here and ask what are they doing about this. It doesn't speak well for our election if people are brazen with the kind of intimidation we're seeing, some circulating on social media and the likes. So I think it's kind of a mixed bag here. It's a good thing that people are looking at the politicians and asking important questions such as, what are you doing for us? And basically making a referendum of the incumbents and saying whether they would like for them to get a return ticket to the state houses. So I believe that's a good thing for our politics. However, all of that is tainted by people not being allowed to express their free will and franchise at the polls.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much, sir. I feel, for instance, in some states, let's use Oyo State, for instance. Makinde won, and it got the, and in fact, the election was in Oyo State was very, very peaceful, and also some other states that so I feel that if you as a leader, you dice your onions well, and in your first tenure you performed well, people will have cause to vote for you, and you wouldn't even need to recourse to violence, or you recourse to threat or manipulations in order to for you to get a second vote, or I mean a second ticket. But however, I feel it is the incompetency and let me say failed leadership. Failed leadership. That is what has amounted to what we see today in Lagos and some other states. And also, another issue I would like to discuss about is the security personnel being compromised and turning away their eyes or turning away their sight from let me say a crime scene or a crisis situation. In a scenario whereby the voters, they were under threat, and even the ad hoc, the INEC ad hoc staff also, they were under threat as a result of all these political thugs and hoodlums. And there are security force there, but there's nothing they can do. All they just have to do is pretend as if nothing of such happened. This is not befitting. This is not befitting in the sense that they have a primary responsibility to make sure that everyone in that polling station is safe, and that the election is conducted in a safe and sound atmosphere, that is, people's life is safe. But the reverse is the case in what we see transpiring in Lagos as a whole. That people, the security forces, they are being manipulated, and they are shying away from the fact that they have a role to play in the safety and security of life. So I don't know why is this happening at this time? Why is this? Is it that they are not well paid, or what could probably be the issue? Or is it that the security personnel themselves are also under threat for them to shy away from their responsibility in making sure that the lives of the voters and electoral officers are safe? But I wouldn't want to believe in a scenario whereby a ballot paper is snatched, and I watched a video where a ballot box was set on fire by hoodlums, and police are there. They could not do anything. They are helpless. So what could have happened? Could it be that they've lost their value, or they've lost their power to at least to administer justice? I really don't know, sir. So, sir, what's your take on this, sir?
All right. Yeah. Thanks for the question here. So I think it's important to know that in Nigeria we still have a lot of moral questions, to be answered. As we see, we do struggle with people, going out there and performing their functions. So in every society, you would always have members of those society be given the responsibility to execute the collective function. And I believe in this case where we are holding elections, this is particularly what we are trying to achieve with INEC officials and the security personnel that are actually joining to conduct, to carry out this electoral process. Now, I believe we suffer from that kind of neglect of duty, that breach of trust, and that's why you're seeing this kind of things happen and be reported. I believe we still have some work to do as regards that. We as a people, as a country, I think we need to orientate ourselves to act differently. The level of bias that we have to our ethnicities or to our politics, it's infiltrating every part of our societal fabric. When you are basically chosen to be an umpire working with INEC, the expectation is that you approach your duties as an independent and non-partisan, participant in the electoral process. However, as you said, some people are being bought over. In some cases, people are being intimidated. Some are basically putting themselves in that situation to be bought, sometimes to the highest bidder. And so all of these things are causes of concern, and I think we have a lot of work to do as regards this. Generally, when it comes to looking at we as humans, we are political animals, as they would say, right? So it's very difficult to ask for someone not to be biased in a way, right? But at the same time, we need to orientate people to understand the gravity of the trust that the Nigerian people are placing on them, and for them to understand that this service that they are rendering is actually very, very important to the health of our democracy. So many people do not really realize the impact of their actions, and that's what we see, where people are just willing to go on and maybe take some bribes and participate in this kind of very bad practices. So I believe what we need to advise is that for INEC to vet these people, to have a system in place where perhaps we have consistent INEC officials that would run these elections, that will be pre-vetted, that will be sure that have no inclinations to participate in these kind of things. As I said, it's very difficult in a multi-ethnic nation where poverty is rare. You see that so many of these people are faced with a moral question. There's a politician offering me 2 times my salary for just one day to do something that is seemingly simple.
Easy.
And then they have to wrestle with that question. But I think with adequate orientation and ensuring that they do understand that this kind of action, that the consequences are actually more than what is being offered to them. Sometimes things like this lead to violence, all-out war. Sometimes it leads to just adding to the endemic corruption. People getting into office and trying to get back those funds from the system, so we all end up paying for that, and a lot of development being missed as a result. So I believe we need the orientation, and I believe this is also where the civil society comes in. Organizations like Veegil and many others out there, are working tirelessly to do this. I think it will be key for INEC to also look to getting some members of the civil society, those that are like activists, advocates for good governance, and like anti-corruption campaigners, to work with them directly. And I believe these will be very good candidates to actually put within the ranks of INEC, working as election observers, working as INEC officials, working as INEC commissioners, consulting with INEC, meeting with them and helping them with the vetting process. I believe, INEC cannot do all of this alone. So I would also advise that INEC opens their doors to all of these organizations. We have so many of them in Nigeria right now, trying to see that we have, a steady and consistent electoral process. We have good governance, and we reap the benefits of democracy in Nigeria. So that would be my take on those kind of issues. I think it has to start with the umpire, and who are those we are actually, trusting with these very important roles.
Thank you very much, sir. Like you said earlier, who are those we need to trust with this important truth? Actually, like I said, in view of the structures we have, I think the INEC would not, because the INEC, as a result of some state actors and their strategies, they would not want to adopt any structure that will, or any idea that will take away or that will take away the influence they actually have on the election process. In fact, to me, I feel they would not want to relegate some of their duties, so let me say, to an external body or to let me say some non-government organization to
Yeah,
help
yeah.
them in.
I'm not necessarily saying they have to relegate the duties. I'm just saying that they should collaborate with them. So in collaboration, you understand. So if we asked INEC to vet them, many of the people you find in INEC, from the commissioner, the commissioner of INEC, the chairman, INEC chairman, to the resident commissioners, these are all academics. Many of them,
Yeah.
you know, they operate in an idealistic environment, right? And they're not
Yeah.
used to the real world environment where the politicians operate. So I think in getting some other members of the political space, especially those that are on the side of the people, that are typically against the politicians, right? You know, continuing in this process of corruption and all of these. I think these kind of people will be important to collaborate with INEC. We can ask of vice chancellors and professors to vet some, you know, low-level members working with them, right? Many of them can try with the sensitization, you know, but I think we need to bring in civil society here and work with established organizations that we know, right? You know, we have organizations like Enough is Enough and, you know, all of these different organizations, you know, get some of their leaders and members in and let them be steady members in INEC, right? That consult with them and help them with this vetting process. I think that will be very useful in ensuring that, you know, we are not waiting till the election to actually sensitize people or to try to vet people, that we're actually doing this on a continuous basis.
All right. Thank you very much, sir. So there's another issue that came this afternoon. Somebody gave me a field report that some polling unit stations that the election was cancelled in a particular polling unit station, and that there people turned up massively. But why would it have been cancelled? Maybe probably due to some threat and maybe let me say security. So, but it was cancelled and it does not really translate well. So I don't know. What do you feel will be? Are they going to make reorganize another election for them, conduct another election for them, or as it is cancelled, they will not bring it up again because they are really expressing their grievances, and these are people that are ready to vote, but because of one thing or the other, they had to cancel their elections in their various polling units, and it does not really translate well for them. So they are seeing it as a kind of a short change on them, and they are beginning to get angry from what I had. So I don't know, sir. Does INEC has? I don't know if INEC has any plan maybe to reconduct this election in these places where they cancelled.
Okay, thanks for that important submission there. I think according to INEC rules, one of the things we've seen INEC do on a consistent basis is that INEC basically tries to, not disenfranchise people that might have been affected by widespread, maybe voter intimidation or violence, or where there are logistic issues and are not able to vote. So according to the INEC regulations, elections have to be held within 24 hours in those places. Now, we already had the election on Saturday, and right about now, I believe as of the end of, at the close of the polls, 2 p.m., I believe, or 2:30 p.m. Nigerian time on Saturday, there should have been established channels of communications to the different resident electoral commissioners of INEC to tell them that certain areas, maybe registration areas or wards or polling units were affected, elections were not held here on a widespread basis, and recommendations should have been made for those elections to be held the day after. I believe we had some cases like that even in the last election.
Yes.
In the presidential election. So in such an event, I think according to the INEC guidance, they have to hold elections the next day. But at this point in time, if those elections have not held, I'm not 100% certain what the INEC rules says about that. So I think that is part of where we have to, look at how we can, improve upon our process. I, for one, am an advocate for us voting for a period of time. This is something that you see elsewhere where they have early voting, right? For instance, in the US, people start voting 2-3 months before the election day, right?
Yes.
So that if things like that are occurring, then people can move on, vote when they are chanced. Some people are essential workers. They have to work in the emergency rooms in hospitals. Some people have to, even the election observers, even the INEC, folks themselves, they ought to vote before the day of the election because they're working, right? So all of these people, I think we need to accommodate them. Some people are very vital to the functioning of our society. They cannot afford to take that day off to go stay on the line for several hours, right? Some people are firemen. They have to be on duty. The policemen, the security operatives, they also have to vote. We shouldn't just disenfranchise all of these people. So I believe it's important for us to look at reforms that would allow us to be able to vote for a period of time. I think those are important things for us to think about and consider. And if we have things like that, there will be less, motivation for people that want to disrupt the election to come in on that day and say, I want to disrupt the election. Because people have been voting already, except you want to keep disrupting the election for every single day for maybe a month or 2 months or 3 months, And at that point in time, we should be able to have that situation, fixed because we know that, okay, elections are supposed to be taking place and they are not. So it's unfortunate that people do get disenfranchised, right, during elections. And unfortunately, politicians are also playing that card and going to opposition areas and causing all of those mayhem, knowing that, once elections don't hold, very likely that the entire results from that area might be cancelled or elections would not hold altogether. And that would give them an edge. And you can see that in the pattern of the elections overall. When you look at the last presidential elections, you see in places that had a party dominating in their own stronghold, like in the East, there was no widespread reports of, people not voting, disenfranchising them and what have you. But when you come to like Lagos, for instance, you had a lot of those rancor going on during the elections because, some people felt, okay, they're not guaranteed to win, so they wanted to use every single means that they had. So there are so many cases, like pockets of cases. Like there was one that was reported in Kogi State where the APC candidates there felt that the opposition was basically coming to their stronghold and trying to cause a lot of havoc so that elections will not hold, and vice versa. So I think it's quite unfortunate, but I think we're making some progress, and we need to address these particular things and look at it from a holistic point of view and how we can reform the system.
All right, thank you very much, sir. We also had in the last presidential election also some places there, in some of the state or polling unit states, I think it's in some northern place and some in the southwest also, election did not hold there. Until now, INEC has not really done anything about it. And it's still reoccurring again in this governorship election. So I really hope INEC can just take a step and look into it, because till now, those voters, they are still expecting that at least they will have that privilege. And like we say, we usually say every vote counts. And maybe it is just that single vote that that voter will make that will eventually end up picking up his candidate to the corridor of power. So I will appeal to INEC also to look into this and make sure that wherever the election has been cancelled in any polling unit or station, they should try and find a way to look into, so that the voters can feel that like they've exercised their voting right. Then also there's another issue of, you want to say something, sir?
Okay. Yeah, I was just looking at one of the questions we got from social media there that says, from Samuel Iyola, that says, what do we have to expect about the first woman to become a governor in Nigeria? I think that was the senator from Adamawa, being the presumed governor-elect in Adamawa State. And the question is saying, what should we expect from that organization? From that administration? If I would answer that, I would say, I would expect it to work for the people. I would expect, this to be a type of administration that, not to put too many pressure upon the incoming administration for the first governor. However, I wouldn't want it to just be an administration that would not really work for the people, that, people would have a lot of issues about, or that may be riled with corruption and things like that. I wouldn't want anything negative to be the legacy of that administration. I would hope that the lady, the Madam Governor coming in would set a very good example for women and young girls in Nigeria, to show that you can do this, and set a legacy that can be an example to others to follow, and also be a pointer, right? To say, okay, what men are doing here, look at a woman, she's doing a fantastic job here. Let's give more women the opportunities to actually lead. So I think it's a good first step. It's an historic moment, and I'll be looking forward to what that presents to the people of Adamawa State.
And that's a very good fit for, let me say, democracy in Nigeria. I think we have the first female governor, to be precise. So it's good. And I believe that we also send a message to every other female governorship aspirant that there is hope, and that they can get to wherever they want to go. So that's that. And then over the years, I've discovered that there's this state action that is trying to normalize thuggery and this tout, because that is, they believe that they can use thug and tout to achieve their agenda, and it's becoming rampant in Nigeria. We have it actually in almost all the states in Nigeria, and particularly the southwest region. There's this general belief that they can use thugs and touts as a tool to manipulate and control the people and control people's votes. So this is becoming prevalent, and now is I think is sending a bad signal to Nigeria as a whole. And this is not still limited to Lagos. Also, we saw how thugs and touts were used and deployed virtually in almost all the polling unit stations. They were used, and so it's becoming a normalcy in Nigeria, especially in Nigerian politics. And I don't know why our leaders should go ahead and use and why they should go ahead and say that this is the only alternative they can use to manipulate people and I don't know, canvas for vote, or probably to induce people to vote for them. It does not speak well of us. So I hope that maybe probably the INEC can also look into this and at least find a way to mitigate the occurrence of this, because now most people now in Lagos, for instance, they could not cast their vote. They were being threatened, some even to the extent of going to their house, thugs on this house, they were threatening them. So most people could not even come out to cast their vote because of the because they were prone to this type of attack, and So I don't know, or if probably INEC can find a way to look into this, because any dent on the election process is also a dent on INEC history, and whatever step INEC take today is going down to the history lane. So we wouldn't want a situation whereby anything like this come up in the next election, and if peradventure it reoccur, it will prevent people from coming out to make their vote. So I don't know if there could be an alternative way to minimize the impact that these thugs and touts are used to or deployed to elections areas.
Okay, yeah, thank you. I think, yeah, we kind of talked on this earlier. I think, unfortunately, politicians will always be politicians, regardless of where you have them. And they would always look for means to get ahead. So if thuggery or intimidation is a viable weapon, they're going to use it. If it's misinformation, it's going to happen. And this is not just in Nigeria. If you look at the last US election, the last 2 US elections, and even going into this current election that will be held in 2024, misinformation is already a big thing. People are weaponizing information, right? And it benefited some candidates in previous elections, right? And I can tell you that even here in the US where I reside, the leading Republican candidate is already signaling to the Russians that, hey, I don't believe in the war in Ukraine and all those kind of things, as a way of saying, hey, I'm going to do your bidding for you here if you would help me win this election with your misinformation campaign and all of these. Because they're playing with the playbook of Donald Trump, right? He did that in 2016 and says, hey, Russia, if you're listening, help us hack into the servers of the DNC, the Democratic Party. And so when you look at it, that's a different form of malpractice there. So I wouldn't emphasize beyond the reason, what is going on in Nigeria. It's not specific to us, what is going on in Lagos. The key thing here is, if the system permits it, if the environment permits it, the politicians are going to take advantage of it. So what we should be talking about is, how do we, systematically make such things not count, make those thuggery and all of those things, how can we make them not count, right? And a lot of people will give you different ideas. Part of what we said earlier is about, maybe voting for an extended period of time. That could make it more difficult for you to plant someone somewhere and say, okay, disrupt the election, right? If you have a system for people to vote, right, at their convenience, right? So you look at the example of the US elections again, right? They have the ability to vote by mail, for instance. If someone is voting from their house, just sending their ballots through the mail, how can you affect them with that thuggery, right? So depending on what you do, you may basically render certain types of malpractices less potent or potentially useless. But that could also open the doors to other forms of problems, right? So, and you have to be ready to deal with that, right? The more you go electronic, you start to think of, that thuggery changing from, physical thugs and intimidation to cyber criminals and people, trying to attack the infrastructure that you're using when you start to introduce more and more technology. So I think we we as civil society, INEC, and everyone, the observers, we have international observers, we have observers domestically. I think we all have to sit down and look at what are the ways around this. And all of these problems, frankly, are not just specific to Lagos, they're not specific to Nigeria. It's everywhere, right? So here we may have tribalism, Igbo, Yoruba, Hausa, and all of those. But you go elsewhere, it's about ideologies, it's about parties, it's about different kinds of things. Sometimes it's about urban versus rural, and so these are problems that we would always have. But I think we ought to also think about how we can continue to address them. So unfortunately, if the room is there, as I said, it's going to be exploited. So it's upon INEC and civil society and other participants in the electoral process to look at ways and means to actually curb some of those election malpractices.
All right, thank you, Mr. Abdul. We will just have to keep on encouraging INEC to improve and keep on improving on their system and their method. That's just what we can only hope for as at now. Also, in respect to the beavers, in some places yesterday, the beavers worked very well. And in some other states also, it does not work very well. Some of the ad hoc officers, they don't know how to really handle it. Maybe because they don't have, they were not well trained, or probably, let me say, maybe the beavers, it was not well programmed. So in some places, there was a record of high.
Okay, I think we might have lost you there.
Sorry, sir?
Okay, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. I lost you briefly.
Oh, okay, so like INEC promised us earlier that this governorship election will be transmitted in a day. As I speak now, I've and so I will. So there's this general belief that INEC has still not delivered on its promise to transmit the results, even with the beavers working well in most of the states, except in some places where it was not fully working well. So I don't know why has INEC still not yet transmitted the results and made people have access to it, except in some few states and some places.
All right. Yeah. Thank you. I think we talked about this. I think with the beavers, it's just about having the infrastructure set in place. We must recognize that all of these require prevalence of internet, connectivity. A lot of times for you to send some data and what have you in a remote location is very difficult. And so the moment you don't feed into the system, however good the system has been created, if you don't feed data into it, then you can't just use the system. Then you have to go back to the manual transmission of the results. And I think that's what's going on in a lot of places. Outside major cities like Lagos, Abuja, Kano, Port Harcourt, and perhaps just a few others, we don't have a reliable 3G networks, not to talk about 4G, right? We don't have that prevalence of broadband internet. And so once we start to have issues with the way the results are being fed into the beaver system, and if we're having incomplete data and what have you, INEC may want to wait until they get the complete data, with the manual process, before they can move on and say, okay, we are declaring the results or whatever. But I believe the results viewing portal itself should have been at least, I believe they have some results there, and credit to INEC, you see them mention how many results have they gotten from a particular state, of all the number of polling units they have in that state, how many polling units have they uploaded the results. So I think that's good. Again, it's a question of is the glass half full or is it half empty? I would rather take the half full part and say, okay, at least we're able to see some of the results from some polling units. We're able to verify it. I think one of the things INEC can do to make the results viewing portal better is to perhaps, open it up and not just send us the pictures, but also send us the data. And perhaps make their APIs available to organizations, right? Like Veegil and some others out there. We do have that capability to get those results and display them, as you can see on your screen there. So I believe things like that can only work best if we also have access to the data. So I believe it would be good for INEC to provide access, read-only access. We don't need to be able to make any edits or changes to the results, but people should be able to read them. If you're already giving us the data, on the viewing portal, just get people access to the data via APIs, and they can collate all of these results, and that would also ease some of the time it's taking for us to start to see trends here. By now, you would expect us to have more data coming in, but as you can see, it's a lot more difficult for us to do that, especially when you don't have that data being readily available. So everyone has to wait for all of the polling units to be, collected up to the local government level at least, before we can start to have those data. So I think INEC can make some adjustments here, but I think it's an improvement. It's going to take us a couple of cycles to really get the beavers to work as it was envisioned. And so I think we need to also be patient. If we look at, for instance, the GSM in Nigeria when it started, early 2000s in Nigeria, it used to be very spotty. It doesn't work. You call people, you can't hear.
Yes,
a lot of drop calls. I'm sure if you go back to MTN or Econet then and those type of networks, and you look at the percentage of dropped calls that they used to have then versus now, you see that it would have reduced drastically. And so the beavers just started being to be used. The results transmission and all those technologies that have been incorporated has just started. So we can treat these lapses we are having as dropped calls. And after 3, 4, 5 iterations, I believe we would get it to work a lot more efficiently, and at that point in time, we would all come to enjoy it. So we have to be patient, and we have to continue to give the feedback, and I believe that's where it becomes helpful to INEC to be able to make those changes and implement.
Thank you very much, Mr. Abdul. Thank you so much for your input. Now we are trying to analyze the results. Let's results across some of the states in Nigeria. For instance, now we understand that in the Southwest, the APC party is still dominating virtually in some of the states, although PDP is also matching up, to take some of the major strong zones, but still APC is still retaining the major stronghold in Southwest. And also in the North, also there has been also a similar change also. And I think let me say technically, we still have the major powers in the hands of APCs. And although because of I reasonably feel that this governorship election would have been able to make the changes, but it's quite still unfortunate that power still resides with the major strongholders. And I don't know if the line that there will be a way to strike a balance in between this actually. So thank you very much,
Yeah,
sir.
I think if we look at the results here,
Yes.
like in the Southwest, you look at Ogun State, for instance. I believe some of these results are still coming in, but thus far from what we have here, it's a close call between APC and PDP in a lot of these states. Here, PDP has 239,000, about 41% or 42% of the votes, and APC has about 43% of the votes in 246,000. So a lot of these are quite close. If we look at Lagos, for instance, I think Lagos has been a lot of contention between Sanwo-Olu and Rhodes Vival, the candidate of LP. However, LP has been able to poll thus far, and these results, I must say to our listeners here, our viewers here, that these results continue to trickle in as more and more states are got. We can go on here and see for Lagos, for instance, and load up the Lagos specifically, and we can see what we have on each local government.
Yes.
By the way, I think our viewers can access these maps if they go to electionmap.veegil.com. They can see these. It's an interactive map. You can dive into the data yourself and see. So I think we can see Badagry, for instance. APC has a lot polling. PDP and LP pretty much the same showing here. So I think it's in these areas that, and I would like to point out that Badagry you still consider to be more or less one of the most homogeneous parts of Lagos, right? You would not have a lot of tribes, like multiple tribes there. Those are still some of the rural parts of Lagos. So I wouldn't be surprised by this kind of result, especially given the level of identity politics that went into the campaigns here. But if you come to Amuodofin, for instance, you see LP is doing a lot better. They actually won Amuodofin here. So far, they are leading here. They have 34,000 votes versus 17,000 here of APC. And PDP is not really polling well. They have about 3% of the vote. So when you look at Amuodofin, you look at Ojo, these are two local governments that I believe very diverse. A lot of different ethnicities you would find there. So those are the parts that really make Lagos, Lagos, right? So I'm not surprised about LP doing a lot better here. So as you can see in Ojo, I believe this is Ojo we are looking at. Yeah, LP has about 35% of the votes. They actually did a lot better than in Badagry, for instance, and while APC had 57% of the votes. You go to Amuodofin, it starts to change, right? You see LP getting 64% of the votes and APC 32%. I think almost all the local governments are here, with the exception of Etiosa. So if we look at Jeremy Felodun, you see it's also kind of a close call, about 20%, 20,000 votes lead here by Sanwo-Olu over Rhodes Vival. We can look at Apapa, for instance. I think these are parts that I would have expected it to be more competitive. We do have APC polling about 76% of the votes, while LP had about 15%. So it's more skewed towards APC in that case. You go to Oshodi, Isolo, local government. APC had about 57% of the vote, and LP had about 39% at 24,000, and PDP about 4% of the votes with 2,500 votes, about 2,500 votes. So I guess what I'm seeing here with these numbers, when we compare these to what we had in the presidential election, I think the voter turnout here is also going to be very, very low, given that we know that from the presidential election, and we can have a quick look at what we had for the presidential election. I believe if you look at the values, the figures we had there, the figures from Lagos were in total going to the millions, right? Here we had about 582,000 for LP alone, and APC had around 572,000, and you can see PDP had 75,000 votes. But if we look at this is about roughly 1 million votes, right? A little above 1 million votes. But coming to the governorship results we have here for Lagos, it's still about 1 million. Okay, still about okay. So I mean, maybe we didn't just look at population areas. We had APC here with about 817,000 of the votes. LP about 314,000. So it means when you compare the showing of Peter Obi in the presidential election versus Road actually lost almost 200,000 votes as a result. And those 200,000 votes are the gains that APC has gotten here to actually get like 67%, about 68%, about 2/3 of the entire vote. PDP has been roughly the same. The PDP lost about 10,000 votes there, and I believe all of these votes that were lost were all picked up by APC. Now I'm sure some of the obedience and other LP supporters may argue that the intimidation and what have you is a factor here. But as we can see, I think contrary to what I said, the voter turnout is actually about the same, roughly the same, from the presidential election to the governorship election. We can look at other states in the Southwest. Let's look at Ogun State, for instance. So Ogun State is pretty much a race between PDP and APC. And what we have here is a total votes of around, 570,000 thereabouts here, and APC is having 246,000 of those votes, and that's about 43%. While PDP had 239,000. So yeah, we can compare that to what they had in the presidential and just have a sense. I think it will be beneficial to get some sense of what we had in the presidential election. So in the presidential election, we had APC won, Tinubu won by 341,000 votes, while Atiku had 123,000 votes, and LP had 85,000. So APC actually won that with 61%, and it seems the governorship election, they're winning with a lesser margin here, 43%. And so we'll continue to see that. Oyo State, I think that's an interesting one. Oyo State seems to be going in favor of PDP here. I think this is one of those states that is pretty much giving us an indication of how the politics is going here.
Yes.
As we can see, PDP is polling about 368,000 votes, and that's about 68% of the total votes. APC is about 156,000 at 29%. So these roughly 200,000 votes difference here in the governorship race between APC, between PDP and APC. So PDP is leading there. If I will do a quick comparison here with the presidential election results, in Oyo State, APC actually won by 61%, and PDP had 24%, and there was roughly 300,000 votes between them. So I think it seems that the takeaway here is that Tinubu is actually way more popular to the people of the Southwest. I think that's the takeaway we can have here compared to these governorship aspirants. And I believe Dapo Abiodun of APC is actually a returning candidate here in Ogun State. And you can see in Oyo State, pretty much that state is being flipped right now to PDP. Yes. If we move on to Kwara State, you can see it's also a closer race between APC and PDP. Here, the APC is around 162,000 at 60% of the vote, and PDP thus far is polling 92,000. And I don't think these results are complete yet. They continue to come in by local government. But thus far, what we can see here is, roughly 70,000 lead from the Kwara candidate. I believe we'll continue to get some data dump later during the day, and hopefully we can update this. But I believe there's a high likelihood that APC will take Kwara State. And Niger State, it also seems APC is in the lead over there. It will be interesting to see, at the end of the day, when all is said and done, what states, whether we have some correlation between the presidential election and the gubernatorial elections in the states where they've been held. Like Tinubu won Niger State. I would want to see if the APC gubernatorial candidate there would also win, versus the like PDP coming. And when you look at the gap between APC and PDP in a lot of these states, it's actually very close. Like this one is under 100,000 in presidential. Kebbi is pretty much 40,000 difference. So I want to believe a lot of these states will be very, very competitive. And I think it's healthy for our politics in Nigeria because these governors and even the president-elect, when they get in, they know that they won by narrow margins. And they know that the opposition is right there with them. It only takes the opposition to use the missteps, or if there's rampant corruption or they are not really delivering, it just takes them to use that to convince. Like you look at Sokoto, for instance, here in the presidential election. This is just about, less than 3,000 votes, just about a little over 3,000 votes, about 3,100 votes that PDP led APC by in Sokoto State. So when you look at things like that, if we have a correlation between this and the governorship race, I believe it's going to be neck and neck. It's going to be straight to the wire. And I think it's healthy for the politics because the opposition will be stronger. If you led me in an election by just 3,000 votes, so it means come next election, if I can convince about just 3,000 people that I could do a better job than you did, then I can flip the seat. So I believe that would make those governor-elects to tighten their belts and want to really do well and perform for the people. And I think that's always good news.
Yes.
So the same thing, Zamfara. I think the North is becoming very interesting. Kaduna was, about 150,000 difference there, with which PDP won. PDP won Katsina in the presidential with less than 7,000 votes. So all of these, I think they'll be interesting to see how it plays out in the governorship elections.
Thank you very much, Mr. Abdul. This interactive map has been really helpful, and I think it captures everything that needs to be known about the election and the margins between the parties. So thank you very much for giving us your time here today, and we really appreciate it. And to all our viewers outside there, please, I would like you to make reference to our interactive map. Look at it and see the features. It captures all the election figures and is very, very, very clear enough for you to know that our Veegil Media is up to the task in ensuring that the election is well monitored, well documented, and the database is well accessible for you all to see. Thank you again, Mr. Abdul, for your time with us here today. And thank you again.
All right, have a good one. I think we can just let the viewers know where they can see the map. So it's going to be on your screen, electionmap.veegil.com. You can visit the site and you can see the numbers, give it a closer look and look at them. Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate being here today.
Thank you again.
Coppers, how are you?
We are doing fine, sir. How are you, sir?
I'm fine, as you can see. We just came back from campaigning in the villages across the river, you see, and they really love us.
That's really good for you. I wish you all the best.
Wait now, don't go yet. We even saw some of your people on the campaign trail and we took care of them.
Wow, good for you.
And we will take care of you too. You know you are serving your fatherland and you will be playing a key role in the election process. So we can take care of you so you can help us. And when we enter, we will still take more care of you. You know what I mean, eh?
I don't know what you mean, Oga.
Okay. Just say that the machine is not working so we can use manual process. Then we can work the result in our favor. And we may not even need to do it because the people like us already. But this is just a contingency plan in case our opponents want to play smart. You know what I mean?
You want to pay us to manipulate results for you?
No big deal there now. You know we'll take care of you very well.
No, sir. We are not interested. Nigeria will take care of us.
We say no to inducement to manipulate the election process and results.
We say no to every form of corruption during elections.
A free and fair election will make a better Nigeria that can take care of its people. Say no to inducement and bribery to manipulate elections.